Ladies and gentlemen, you know what nobody tells you, that being uncomfortable isn't a glitch in your life plan, it's actually the signal you're leveling up. You think pressure, frustration, confusion are signs you're failing. Wrong, they're signs that something bigger is getting built inside you, and if you don't understand that, you're gonna bail right before the miracle happens. You want to know how you know when God or the universe or life, whatever you want to call it, is setting you up for something massive. It's when it feels like everything is falling apart, but deep down you can still breathe, you still get up, you still move, even if it's an inch at a time. Some of you are feeling stuck right now. Like you're doing everything right, you're working, you're hustling, you're trying to be a good person, and it's like life's just punching you in the face over and over again. And you're sitting there thinking, what did I do wrong? I'll tell you, nothing. You're in the gym, you're under construction, you're being prepared, and here's the deal: the preparation never looks like the promotion. You want the crown, but you don't want to bleed for it. It doesn't work like that. If you're asking for a bigger life, you better expect a bigger battle. It's not punishment, it's qualification. Sometimes you start losing people, friends disappear, people you thought were ridored, I suddenly ghost you. And it hurts, man. It feels like betrayal. But what you don't realize yet is that you're outgrowing rooms you're not supposed to be in anymore. God's pulling you out of circles that can't carry the weight of where you're going. He's not just saving you from bad company, he's saving you for better destiny. Trust the separation, trust the silence, trust the subtraction, because it's making space for multiplication. You ever feel like you're waiting forever? You're grinding, you're pushing, you're praying, and still no breakthrough, no spotlight, no made it moment good. That's how diamonds are made, in the dark, under pressure. If you can clap for yourself when no one's watching, if you can stay consistent when you don't have the followers, when you don't have the money, when you don't have the applause, that's when you're becoming dangerous. Everybody wants the blessing, but nobody wants the burden that builds the blessing, and I get it, I get it. It sucks, it's lonely, it's messy, it's scary, but you know what's scarier: staying small, playing it safe. Living a life that's 10% of what you were made for. Listen, there's a version of you that is so damn powerful, it would blow your mind if you could see it right now. You were built for more, you know it. That tug you feel in your gut, that ache, that restless feeling like you're made for something bigger, but you can't see it yet. That's real. That's the whisper from the future pulling you forward. And if you ignore it, you'll live stuck. But if you honor it, if you trust it, you'll start to see why the fight was necessary. You're gonna notice something else, too. You start caring less about impressing people. You realize how small their opinions are compared to the size of your calling. You stop needing validation from people who don't even have vision for themselves. That's not arrogance, that's clarity. When you finally lock into who you are, what you're here for, you don't have time to beg people to like you. You're too busy building what you were born to build, and the crazy thing is it won't make sense at first. Your moves will confuse people, they'll call you crazy, they'll say you're unrealistic. Good. You're not supposed to make sense to people who are committed to average. You're not supposed to fit into a system you were designed to disrupt. It's wild how life tests you before it blesses you. And if you can pass the test of frustration, of silence, of uncertainty, if you can walk through that fire without losing your faith, without losing your hustle, without losing your humanity, you unlock doors that talent alone could never open for you. And here's the thing, you're gonna be tested with opportunities to quit disguised as legitimate excuses. It's too hard, it's taking too long, maybe it wasn't meant to be, and if you take that bait, if you settle, you'll never see how close you really were. You ever wonder why the attacks got heavier once you started dreaming bigger? It's because hell knows what you're capable of. Your potential is a threat. Your obedience is a weapon. Your purpose is radioactive. If you weren't a problem for the enemy, you wouldn't be getting hit so hard. So instead of crying about it, stand up, wipe your face, square your shoulders, fight back. There's a reason it's lonely. There's a reason it's confusing. There's a reason it feels like you're losing when you're actually leveling up. Growth looks like chaos before it looks like clarity. Destiny looks like demolition before it looks like design. You are being sharpened for significance. You are being stripped for strength. You are being pulled back like a slingshot because you're about to be launched further than you ever thought possible. You're not buried, you're planted. And you better believe when that seed breaks the ground, when that dream explodes into reality, the same people who overlooked you, doubted you, laughed at you, they're gonna be the ones asking you how you did it. But you'll know it wasn't magic, it wasn't luck, it wasn't easy, it was preparation, it was the nights you cried and didn't quit, it was the days you failed and kept showing up, it was the work, the grit, the grace. So if it's heavy right now, good, that's proof you're close. If you feel stretched right now, good, that's proof you're growing. If you feel like giving up, good, that's proof you're about to break through. Because the truth is, you don't find greatness on the mountaintop. You forge it in the valley, and if you can hold your ground when everything inside you is screaming to run, when fear is louder than faith, when doubt is bigger than hope, if you can stand in that, you're unstoppable. This season isn't punishment, it's preparation. The struggle isn't random, it's strategic. You're not being broken, you're being built. And when the time comes when you're ready, you won't even have to chase the opportunity. The opportunity will find you because you'll have become the person who's ready to hold it. Not everyone's gonna understand your journey. Not everyone's gonna see what you see. Not everyone's gonna clap for you. But that's fine. You're not doing this for applause. You're doing it because you were created for it. And if you stay patient, stay humble, stay hungry, stay grounded, one day, you're gonna look back at everything you're going through right now and say, it had to happen. Every tear, every heartbreak, every setback, every delay, it had to happen because it made me ready. And the crazy part? You're just getting started, and when you start walking in this energy, this real, raw, no apology energy, everything around you shifts. People start treating you differently. Opportunities start looking for you. You become a magnet for the life you were actually supposed to live, not because you faked it. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. You're not sitting around begging for a seat at somebody else's table anymore. You're building your own table, and you're not inviting insecurity. You're not inviting fear. You're not inviting the people who only loved the version of you that stayed small to make them comfortable. You're walking different, you're talking different, you're vibrating at a frequency that people who are still scared can't even recognize. They think you're arrogant, they think you've changed, you have changed. You're supposed to. Growth is offensive to the people who gave up on theirs. You know what's wild? Once you step into this place, this zone of truth, of resilience, of power, life stops being about proving people wrong and starts being about proving yourself right. You're not living to silence your doubters, you're living to honor your destiny. You realize the storm wasn't sent to drown you, it was sent to develop you. You realize the detours weren't dead ends, they were divine redirections. Every closed door, every no, every betrayal, every delay, none of it was wasted. All of it was sharpening the edge you're gonna need when the real doors swing open. And it's funny, because people from your past will try to come back when they see the light. They'll pretend they were cheering for you all along. Don't get bitter. Don't even waste your breath trying to explain. Real kings and queens don't clap back, they move forward. You're too busy building legacy to argue with history. The hardest part isn't the work, it's the patience, it's the silence, it's the loneliness. It's the days when you're building and planting and grinding and nobody sees it. But listen to me, when God's building something big through you, he hides you first. Because what's premature gets poisoned, and you're not being hidden to be forgotten, you're being hidden to be fortified. You gotta get it through your head. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. That itch you feel every time you try to settle, that restlessness you feel when you try to downplay yourself, that's your spirit rejecting mediocrity. You keep wondering why normal life doesn't feel good enough. It's because you weren't built for normal, you were built for impact, and impact requires weight, responsibility, vision, guts. You don't pray for a big life and then panic when it requires big faith. You don't ask for blessings that touch nations and then fold because your circle shrunk. You don't ask for purpose and then get mad when preparation shows up wearing the uniform of pain and uncertainty. You gotta be willing to walk through seasons where it looks like you're losing everything only to realize later that you were actually losing nothing and gaining everything. You gotta stop being so afraid of starting over. You gotta stop being so afraid of letting go. Sometimes the greater purpose you're asking for can't even be accessed until you get your hands off the things you're clinging to out of fear. There are doors that won't open until you release the ones you're still pounding on. There are dreams that won't activate until you die to the old version of yourself. You can't drag dead weight into a destiny that's alive. You can't force old mindsets to fit into a future that requires new levels of thinking, new levels of trust, new levels of grind. And you know what's crazy? Sometimes the fight isn't external, it's internal. It's not them holding you back. It's not your haters. It's not your circumstances. It's the war inside your own head. It's the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't do it, why you're not ready, why it's too late, why you're too broken, why you're too different. And that story, it's trash. Burn it. Replace it with truth. You are not broken, you're being built. You are not too late, you're right on time. You are not disqualified, you're exactly who he called. You are not too much, you're exactly the amount of fire needed to light the next generation. But it only happens if you refuse to back down. It only happens if you refuse to quit when it's ugly, when it's dark, when it's embarrassing, when you're tired, when you're misunderstood, when you're underestimated. It only happens if you stay planted when you want to run, if you stay grinding when you want to hide, if you stay grateful even when you're hurting. You think the enemy's scared of your comfort zone. No, he's terrified of your next level. He's terrified of the weapon you become when you finally realize that your pain wasn't punishment, it was permission. Permission to go bigger, permission to dream wider. Permission to impact deeper. You're not just chasing a dream, you're carrying a blueprint. You're not just here to survive, you're here to build, to shift, to wake things up. Every step you take in obedience to that calling, even the ugly ones, even the clumsy ones, is warfare. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, warfare. Every time you speak life into yourself when you want to speak defeat, warfare. You're fighting for a future you haven't even fully seen yet, but something inside you knows it's real. You don't have to see the full staircase to take the first step. You don't have to have all the answers to start. You don't have to have everybody clapping for you to keep moving. You just have to move. You just have to trust that if he planted the vision, he'll provide the victory. You just have to be stubborn enough about your growth that you stop negotiating with your old fears. And you have to understand that this preparation season, this invisible season, is the most important part. Because when the light hits you, when the world finally sees what's been built in private, it won't be the external that holds you up. It'll be the strength forged in the hidden battles nobody else saw. It'll be the courage you built when nobody was applauding. It'll be the character you shaped when it would have been easier to quit. Because that's the real prize, not the fame, not the money, not the accolades. The real prize is becoming the kind of person who can carry what's coming without dropping it. And when you realize that, you stop stressing over the timeline, you stop obsessing over the when, you start focusing on the who you're becoming. Who you're called to be, who needs you to not give up, because there are people tied to your obedience, there are destinies connected to your discipline. There are generations that will be different because you decided to stay the course when it would have been easier to collapse. Every time you get back up, you're making a crack in the ceiling that someone else thought was unbreakable. Every time you push through your doubt, you're lighting a torch for somebody else who thought they were alone in the dark. Every time you refuse to shrink back into fear, you're showing a new blueprint for what resilience looks like. You're not just changing your own life, you're breaking cycles, you're building altars, you're shifting atmospheres. And yet it costs you something. It costs you comfort, it costs you popularity, it costs you relationships that can't handle your glow up. But the cost is nothing compared to the calling. The calling is heavy. It's demanding, it's sacred, and you don't get to casually carry sacred things. You have to be forged to carry it. That's why it's heavy right now. That's why it's confusing. That's why it feels like the heat turned up out of nowhere. You prayed for elevation, and then you're shocked that pressure showed up. Come on, you can't fly without resistance. You can't carry blessing without building strength. God doesn't waste pain. God doesn't waste delay. God doesn't waste even your dumbest mistakes. You think you ruined it because you messed up. Please, He factored in your failures before you ever started the race. You think you disqualified yourself because you doubted. He factored that in too. He doesn't call the perfect. He calls the willing. All you have to do is stay willing, stay open, stay crazy enough to believe that what's coming is bigger than what's behind you. And if it feels like everything is shifting under your feet, it's because your foundation's getting rebuilt. You're moving from survival mode to purpose mode. You're moving from grinding just to pay bills into building something that echoes past your own lifetime. You're moving from begging for opportunities to becoming the opportunity. You're moving from proving your worth to walking in it. You're moving from hoping you're enough to knowing you are. You don't need another sign. You don't need another confirmation. You don't need another person to co-sign what God already breathed into you before you ever had a name. You just need to believe what He said about you more than you believe the fear screaming inside your head. You just need to move even if your knees are shaking. You just need to speak even if your voice cracks. You just need to build even when no one else understands why you're laying bricks for a vision only you can see. And yeah, it's gonna cost you sleep sometimes. It's gonna cost you comfort sometimes. It's gonna cost you your ego for sure. But it's also gonna birth a boldness in you that nothing and no one can take away. It's gonna put a roar in your chest. It's gonna put steel in your spine. It's gonna put clarity in your vision that cuts through every distraction trying to keep you small. You're not fragile, you're a fighter. You were just trained by a culture that profits off of you forgetting that. You were trained to think you need permission. You were trained to think you need validation. You were trained to think you're only worthy when you achieve certain things. But your worth was woven into you at creation. You were dangerous before you ever succeeded at anything. You were valuable before you ever achieved anything. Your breath is proof that there's still assignment left inside you. So don't get it twisted when it gets hard. That's not the time to shrink. That's the time to double down. That's the time to lock in even harder. That's the time to start speaking over yourself even louder. Because the fight isn't trying to kill you, it's trying to reveal you. It's shaking off every lie that ever told you that you were too broken, too late, too ordinary. It's burning off the layers of fear and shame and self-doubt that were never meant to live in you anyway. It's pressing you into your purest form. It's exposing the warrior inside of you that got buried under years of playing small. You're not building just for the applause. You're not hustling just for the highlight reel. You're grinding for the legacy. You're grinding for the unseen moments when it's just you, your purpose, and the God who put it there. You're grinding for the breakthroughs your great-grandkids will thank you for. You're grinding for the story that'll be told long after you're gone, not about how much money you made or how many followers you had, but about how you lit fires inside of people who forgot they had a spark. And that only happens if you refuse to bow when it gets hard. That only happens if you refuse to water down your voice to make insecure people feel comfortable. That only happens if you remember that pain is a process, not a prison. That only happens if you keep building when you're overlooked. That only happens if you keep planting when it looks like nothing's growing, because the harvest is coming, because the doors are coming. Because the anointing that's been hidden inside of you is about to collide with the season it was made for, and it's gonna hit differently because you didn't skip the steps, because you didn't rush the process, because you trusted the silence, because you trusted the dark, because you trusted the stretch, because you understood the assignment wasn't about making you comfortable, it was about making you unstoppable. And when you hit that point, that rare air where most people quit, that's where your real identity gets carved out. That's where the difference between dreamers and doers shows up. You don't get to greatness coasting. You don't hit your calling playing it safe. You don't live at full capacity if you're always trying to avoid the stretch, the squeeze, the breaking. You've got to understand breaking isn't the end. Breaking is the birthplace. The breaking of your pride, the breaking of your limits, the breaking of every lie that said this is as good as it gets. When you're broken in the right hands, you don't fall apart, you multiply. You're pressed but not crushed. You're struck but not destroyed. You're being prepared for levels of influence, of power, of purpose that your old mindset couldn't even survive at. And yeah, it's lonely sometimes. Elevation is lonely. Destiny demands isolation sometimes. You can't bring everybody into the birthing room of your purpose. Some people can't even breathe at the altitude you're going to. They were good for the last season, but this season demands clarity. This season demands clean hands and a focused mind. This season demands that you know the difference between loyalty to people and loyalty to purpose. Not everybody can stay. Not every friendship will make the flight. Not every relationship will survive the refinement, and that's not cruelty, that's pruning, because you can't bear heavy fruit if you're carrying dead branches. You can't run your race trying to drag people who refuse to train for theirs. You can't keep stopping every 5 minutes to explain your fire to people who have no intention of ever stepping into theirs. You've got to move like you're already who you're becoming. You've got to show up like the room is waiting for you, not the other way around. You've got to attack the day like your future depends on it, because it does. Every prayer you've prayed, every tear you've cried, every fight you've survived, none of it was wasted. Every ounce of it was investing into the version of you that can handle where you're headed. But you've got to be relentless about protecting that vision. You've got to be savage about silencing the voice inside you that says, sit down, play small, be quiet, wait your turn. Your turn is now. Your turn isn't some mythical moment out there in the future where everything is perfect and you feel 100% ready. Your turn starts the second you decide you're done living by fear. Your turn starts the second you recognize that waiting for perfection is the slickest form of procrastination fear ever invented. You think you're gonna wake up one day and magically feel bold enough, strong enough, ready enough. No, you build boldness by moving through fear. You build strength by showing up scared and doing it anyway. You build readiness by living inside the discomfort instead of running from it. The next level doesn't show up because you wished for it. The next level gets unlocked when you move like you already have it. When you grind with the mentality of it's already mine now, I'm just catching up to it. When you stop asking what if I fail and start asking what if I fly. When you stop negotiating with the version of yourself that's comfortable being average, the greatest thing you can do right now isn't to get more credentials. It's not to get a new outfit, a new website, a new team. It's to believe harder. It's to bet on yourself louder. It's to step out onto water when everything around you is screaming, stay safe. Because the miracle's not on the shore, the miracle's in the middle. The growth's not in the shallow end where you can still touch the bottom. The growth's out in the deep where you have no choice but to trust. Trust your gift. Trust your instincts. Trust that if the vision was planted in you, it was for a reason. Trust that the pain was not your punishment, it was your passport. Trust that the people who walked away made room for the ones who are assigned to your future. Trust that the nights you cried yourself to sleep were watering the soil for your breakthrough. Trust that the silence you've been living in isn't abandonment, it's alignment. You are in training right now, not punishment, training, not forgotten, focused, not rejected, redirected, because your purpose is too big for microwave timing. Your purpose demands crockpot patience, slow cooked, marinated in experience, seasoned by fire, and when it's ready, you won't have to force it. You won't have to chase it. You'll walk right into it like you were born for it. Because you were, and deep down you know it. That restlessness you feel, that's not anxiety. That's destiny pulling you forward. That discomfort you feel, that's not failure, that's expansion. That tiredness you feel, that's not defeat. That's the weight of greatness sitting on you, stretching you, toughening you up for the promise you prayed for. You are closer than you think. You are stronger than you feel. You are readier than you realize. You are already in motion toward the life you're still trying to imagine. The old you is terrified. The new you is emerging. You just have to keep walking. You just have to keep grinding. You just have to keep breathing, building, believing when every voice in your head tells you you're crazy. Because crazy is what it takes to change your life. Because crazy is what it takes to break out of the systems and cycles everybody else surrendered to. Because crazy is what it takes to do what nobody else in your bloodline ever dared to do. Because crazy is what it takes to rewrite the story that says where you come from is more powerful than where you're going. And if you're still standing, bruised maybe, tired maybe, doubting maybe, but if you're still standing, then guess what? You're still in the fight, and if you're still in the fight, you still have a shot, and if you still have a shot, you're still dangerous, and if you're still dangerous, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. So don't you dare slow down now, don't you dare second guess yourself now. Don't you dare play small now just because the pressure got real. Pressure means you're close, stretching means you're growing. Opposition means you're moving. You were born to disrupt patterns. You were born to break cycles. You were born to shake the ground when you walk. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about every life you're gonna touch because you had the guts to step into the calling when it was uncomfortable, when it was unclear, when it cost you everything safe and small. Stay planted, stay loud. Stay dangerous, stay you, because the world's been waiting on exactly who you're becoming, and now it's time to show them.